The most damaging side effect of pornography is that it allows somebody to view someone who's a child of God without seeing the humanity. I always tell people that every woman they look at is someone Christ died for, a precious child of God, and deserves to be treated as such and respected as such and loved as such. And as soon as you start objectifying women and start seeing them only for whatever gratification they will give you, just in a physical sense, then you start to lose sight of the spiritualness of that person and of the heart of that person and the soul of that person. And so I think that diminishes them and it diminishes the viewer as well. It's idolatry, and the other thing it is, and I think that a lot of guys don't want to admit to, is that it's adultery as well. It may just be one-dimensional adultery, but the fact of the matter is you are giving your heart and your passion that's meant for your spouse, you're giving that to somebody else. And when you do that, it's an affair of the heart, and that's adultery. And I think the Bible is very, very clear about that. So I'm always surprised when people think, well, I'm not hurting anybody, and it's just entertainment. And hold on, we need to rethink that. One of the things that I tell people a lot of the time is that when they're viewing the pornography, a lot of times it's a second victimization for the person who's being looked at, because a lot of the women who participate in those films come from a background of sexual abuse. So they've been abused as young ladies, as children growing up, have developed unhealthy, broken sexual identity, and then step into this other world and are abused all over again in the fact that they're victimized and objectified that way. So it's just a pattern, and the people who are looking at it are participating in continuing that pattern. I read in Fred Stoker's book about that was the first time I read it, and then I read it again in Marnie Farie's book about the chemical effect of pornography, and it's actually not unlike cocaine addiction in that sense, that there is a high there. And so many of the people that I've talked to who counsel in this area say that it's progressive, that people start out maybe as young men, they find their dad's Playboy stash. And then after several months or a year or two, that's not enough. So they move up to maybe a more hardcore magazine. And then now they need video. And then pretty soon they're into hard films and maybe eventually onto prostitutes. That like any other drug related effect, you need more and more and more. And what used to satisfy, the longer you do it, doesn't satisfy. And that's why pornography is a very slippery slope and so dangerous, because you're being pulled deeper and deeper into this habit. Absolutely sets you up for disappointment in the marriage bed if you've viewed pornography beforehand, because, look at it this way, the women in those films are not going to make you dinner. They're not going to change your baby's diaper. They're not going to support you and help you strive towards your goals. It doesn't cost them anything to be in a relationship with you. And it doesn't cost you anything to be in a relationship with them, because you don't have to do anything for them. There's no commitment there. So you go into your marriage and you've got this fantasy that you're just going to be served this way, and that there's nothing that's expected from you in return. Well, that's unrealistic. And of course, it's unrealistic to expect somebody who's taking care of your kids all day, who's cooked you a nice meal, who's helped you pay the bills, driven kids back and forth to school, whatever the case may be, that at 9:30 at night or 10 o'clock at night, when her day's going to start again at 5 in the morning, if it doesn't get interrupted in the middle of the night by the baby crying, that now at 10 o'clock at night she's going to suddenly become this vixen from some porn movie you once watched. It's not real. And she's going to wonder, what's wrong with me that I can't satisfy my husband? She's going to feel like she's doing something wrong when in fact she's not. And it's also a situation in terms of the things that she might be asked to do. A lot of women have told me that they will try some of those things because they want to please their husband, and then they wind up feeling as if they're going against their God, they're going against their own sense of what's right, and so they become confused. It's just, like I said, it's a very slippery slope, and it does not end well. There's no way it can end well. You've got men who, are expecting their wives to behave in a certain way, and what's so sad about that to me is that there is nothing more gratifying than true intimacy between a man and a woman. I mean, God designed this. This is one of the greatest gifts that God has given to us. And when you are truly in love with somebody in a committed relationship, where you respect each other, where you appreciate each other's counsel, where you share time together, and you build history together, all of that increases sexual satisfaction, because you come to each other wanting to give and wanting to pour love out for one another. And pornography doesn't create any of those scenarios. Quite the reverse.
Beats for Christ alone.